Computers. Computers. Computers.
The transmission. Mission. The transmission.
Computers. 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 Computers.
Transmission. Mission. Transmission.
Computers. 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 Computers.
Transmission. Mission. Transmission.
Computers. 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 Computers.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in today for our reading of John Lang's The Civilian Rights Handguide, a citizen's guide to navigating police encounters. As I found on Amazon for $14.99, it was a very good purchase and helps us to stay educated about our rights during police encounters. So let's get into it. As I said, the name of the book is The Civilian Rights Handguide by John Lang. This person is otherwise known as Audit the Audit on YouTube, a very popular channel that you could go check out, where they analyze police interactions and the right and the wrong of all police interactions on their channel. So go check them out. The link is in the description. If you like the information in the book, you can click the link in the description. I do get a small commission. And on with the reading. Introduction. For the average citizen, police interactions are a relatively foreign experience. Despite the fact that nearly every American will come into contact with police officers at some point in their lives, many citizens are completely unprepared to handle any kind of police interaction, and rightfully so. So that's very true. Most people right back the blue until it happens to you, because most people support the police because they have not had too many contacts with them, if any at all. And anyways, a well-known concept in psychology known as normalcy bias explains that people tend to underestimate the possibility of a disaster and adverse event occurring simply because it hasn't happened to them before. So this is like a good friend of mine. I criticize her driving, and then she goes, I've driven all this way and I've never gotten in an accident before. And so that's a good example of normalcy bias, in my opinion. This bias leads people to assume that things will continue as they always have, causing them to dismiss warnings and fail to prepare for potential risks. The mindset is rooted in the belief that since something has never happened before, it won't happen in the future, despite evidence or indications to the contrary. For example, a person might think, I've never had any problems with the police before, so I don't need to worry about knowing my rights in detail. Or I've never been pulled over, so I don't need to know the specifics of my rights, or I don't need to know how to exercise them because it's never happened and it's never gonna. This type of complacency can leave them unprepared for unexpected situations where a thorough understanding of their rights could be crucial. By proactively learning about your rights and proper procedures during police interactions, you position yourself to respond effectively if such a situation arises. This preparation doesn't mean living in fear of negative events, but rather acknowledging that they are within the realm of possibility and taking reasonable steps to be prepared. How's that volume, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Are we getting good volume? Let me know in the comments, please. And tell us where you're watching from or listening from if you're on the podcast. The importance of understanding our rights extends beyond individual encounters. It has profound implications for society as a whole. When citizens are knowledgeable about their legal protections, they serve as a check against the misuse of authority. I certainly agree with that. I couldn't agree with it more. This is an important check against the government overreach and tyranny is the individual, right? What you do. Do you walk on by? Do you not notice? Do you start filming? Maybe you take notes or something. You know what I mean? So this is an important check. And if you just walk on by, the government doesn't, we don't get to balance it all out, you know? In essence, an informed populace helps maintain the delicate balance of power between the government and the people. This balance is absolutely essential for the functioning of a healthy democracy. Now, people love their freedoms and they love democracy, but then like Gavin Syme was saying on his show last night, people will criticize your patriot friend down the street, will criticize that you even stopped to do anything but have a positive interaction with the law enforcers. You know what I mean? They'll be supportive of, well, we won't get into that. Reflecting on history, we see numerous examples where the erosion of individual liberties has led to the rise of oppressive regimes. When a society becomes complacent about its rights, or worse, ignorant of them, it opens the door to abuses of power that can dismantle the very foundations of freedom. Let's read that again. When a society becomes complacent about its rights, or worse, ignorant of them, it opens the door to abuses of power that can dismantle the very foundations of your freedoms. The stories of authoritarian states often begin with the gradual encroachment of personal liberties, justified under the guise of security or order and facilitated by a populace that is either uninformed or apathetic. What's that word mean, guys? Tell me in the comments. What's apathetic mean? Understanding our rights is not merely an academic exercise, it is a fundamental aspect of our participation in a free and just society. The philosophical underpinnings of individual liberty are deeply entwined with the concept of the rule of law. The rule of law asserts that every person is subject to the law, including lawmakers and enforcers, ensuring fairness and equality. Well, we're seeing some discrepancies there these days, aren't we, guys, with the lawmakers and the Sorry about that. Not sure what happened there. Going to get back to the reading. I tried to look at our comments, but it somehow logged me out. I'll get right back to it though. When citizens are informed about their rights, they are better equipped to hold institutions accountable, reinforcing the rule of law. Conversely, a society that neglects the education of its citizens in legal matters risks sliding into a state where laws are applied arbitrarily and justice becomes a privilege rather than a guarantee. Education about constitutional rights encourages citizens to engage with social issues, participate in democratic processes, and advocate for reforms when necessary. What do you guys think about that? I think that advocating for reform is necessary a lot more often than people recognize. I've noticed myself that my I advocate for others a lot, but then sometimes when the activism is in my backyard or in my household, then I can overlook it or I can procrastinate about that. In practical terms, understanding your rights can also de escalate potentially tense situations, help you avoid unnecessary legal troubles, and potentially save your life. Being aware of legal procedures and protocols allows you to recognize when they are not being followed and enables you to take appropriate action afterward, such as filing an official complaint or seeking legal counsel. Knowing your rights empowers you to make informed decisions, protect yourself from potential abuses of power, and contribute to the preservation of civil liberties that form the bedrock of a democratic society. The presence of law enforcement is woven into the fabric of our daily lives, often unnoticed until a moment of crisis arises. Police officers are entrusted with the vital task of maintaining public order, safeguarding citizens, and upholding the laws that reflect our collective values. So I don't know, I think we all have discussed how law enforcement officers are not responsible for safeguarding the citizens, I guess. Isn't that like a Supreme Court ruling? Is somebody listening? I want to get that and put it in the comments or like chat GPT it or something real quick. Let's see. Are law enforcement officers entrusted with safeguarding citizens? I guess that's a loose term, entrusted. It's not their responsibility, but maybe they are sort of entrusted. Sort of like the expectations I bring up that aren't in their policy book or whatever, but like police officers are expected to build positive relations in the community. So if they're not doing that, you can call them on that stuff and any other expectation you have of them too. These are, if it's a common public expectation, then they have to uphold it. It's above policies, actually, when you think about it. Philosophically, the existence of police reflects our collective agreement to abide by certain rules for the greater good. Laws are not merely edicts imposed from above. They are manifestations of social norms and ethics that have evolved over time. The police embody law enforcement. The police embody the enforcement of these laws, ensuring that the principles we uphold, such as justice, equality, and respect for others, are not just ideals, but practical realities we can depend on. They serve as a bridge between abstract legal concepts and everyday life and ensure that the rights enshrined in our legal system are protected. They're supposed to ensure that, aren't they, guys? But in many of the videos where we watch cops and many of the videos I've seen on Mr. John Lang's channel, the police don't always act with integrity, right? They don't always uphold our rights, do they? However, the power entrusted to law enforcement comes with substantial responsibility. Oh, I'm sorry. I might have gotten that wrong there. However, the power entrusted to law enforcement comes with substantial responsibility. This authority is balanced by the expectation that they will act with integrity, fairness, and respect for the rights of all individuals. But as you guys likely know, this is not always the case. Law enforcement officers are granted significant power to enforce laws, maintain order, and protect citizens. This authority is based on the societal contract where citizens cede certain freedoms in exchange for security and justice. When officers misuse their power, it constitutes a breach of this contract, undermining the legitimacy of the legal system and the moral authority of the police. So this comes in my concept, uh, they are given this by consent. They're given this authority by consent, right? The citizens cede certain freedoms in exchange. It's an exchange, right? For security and justice. So if we are consenting to it, the Supreme Court has ruled that we can take back our consent at any time. So when you see that officers are misusing their power, that is a breach of this contract, right? And you could take back your consent right then. And that's my take on it. And you could let them know, like you have corrupted your office and you are no longer representing law enforcement, and I don't consent. You have no authority over me. This erosion of trust can lead to a cycle of skepticism and hostility between the public and law enforcement, kind of like what we have today, huh, guys? For communities disproportionately affected by misconduct, the impact is even more severe. Marginalized groups may experience heightened fear and distrust, and a sense that the very institutions meant to protect them are a source of harm. This can result in reduced cooperation with police investigations. They can be reluctant to report crimes, and there can be a general breakdown in community police relations. Such dynamics not only hinder effective policing, but also compromise public safety. So I can vouch for this too. When I was in Vegas, I would follow these cops, right? I would follow them. I would find a cop, I would follow them all over and on my bike. And then when I would follow the cops in the disproportionately poor neighborhoods, they would go down these side streets. They come down your street where you live and try to catch you doing something. They could pull you out of your front yard and harm you right there. But I never found them doing that on the other sides of Las Vegas, never on the east or the south side. They're not rolling down people's streets looking for you, coughing and they're spitting in your yard, and they're gonna write you a ticket or whatever because you spit, and search you in your car and bring your whole family outside. You know the routine. These dynamics hinder effective policing, but also compromise public safety, John Lang says in his book. The prevalence of misconduct has also promoted calls for systemic reforms. Initiatives like implementing body-worn cameras, revising use of force policies, enhancing training on de-escalation techniques, and establishing independent oversight committees. These things demonstrate efforts to increase transparency and accountability, right? And they never would have happened if it wasn't for people like taking an interest in policing and looking at it. And unfortunately, they only did that after folks got hurt. So this just goes to illustrate how we need to take more proactive integration in the police department and with the police officers. So when you see them, you should say hi, let them get to know who you are. So when they see you again, maybe they're committing some kind of misconduct or something. Maybe you could say hi, or, hey, remember me? Like, we don't approve or whatever. Anyways, my advice is to never speak to police officers. If you see police misconduct, you should contact the police department anonymously while you're safe, and don't go approaching police on the street. You know, Unfortunately, the act may not be able to be stopped, but we can stop future acts by taking official approaches to, this sort of activism, like I do, doing official complaints, document requests, and this sort of thing, following up to the highest levels if we have to. And that's where you start getting things like there were never body-worn cameras before, but now there are going to be, because people just kept going to the highest channels and kept doing that until it happened. While this book aims to give you knowledge and handle police interactions effectively, it's also important to recognize that our legal system has its flaws. Defending yourself against criminal charges can be very expensive, and taking legal action to address wrongdoings by the police can be an even bigger financial burden. When I suggest that battles against policeman misconduct should be fought in the courtroom, it is with the understanding that as of right now, this is the only viable avenue for victims of misconduct to seek compensation and accountability. The only viable avenue for victims of misconduct to seek compensation and accountability is in the courtroom, John Lane says. To be fully prepared for encounters with law enforcement, you need to think about not just the immediate interaction, but also the legal processes that might follow. I understand the costs and difficulties of accessing legal help make this option out of reach for many people, which is a sad reality that highlights socioeconomic problems within our justice system. These issues show disparities that deserve attention and change. But this book isn't meant to push for systemic reform or to delve into the economic factors that affect access to justice. Instead, this book is intended to serve as a practical guide that presents pertinent facts, laws, court rulings, and legal concepts as they are currently understood. And let's put the cover back on the screen again. If you guys are interested, you want to get the book off of Amazon or some other source, here's what it looks like on Amazon where I bought it. Put it on the stage for y'all. Check it out. If you follow the link in the description, I do get a small commission on that, but you get to be more informed about your rights. You'll have a physical copy that you can share with your friends and stuff. So check it out. It's only $14.99 on Amazon right now. The reality is that most police officers are dedicated professionals committed to serving and protecting their communities who perform their duties with integrity and often under challenging circumstances. Yeah, it's an impossible job, isn't it, guys? Similarly, the vast majority of citizens are responsible individuals who respect the law and contribute positively to society. It is important to acknowledge this mutual commitment to civility and order as the foundation of effective community policing and a functioning society. The purpose of this book is to equip you with knowledge and strategies to navigate police interactions confidently and assert your rights when necessary. While we dive into scenarios involving potential misconduct or constitutional challenges, it is not to suggest that such issues are commonplace. Instead, the goal is to prepare you for exceptional situations, empowering you to handle them appropriately should they arise. By understanding your rights and the legal frameworks that govern police conduct, you can approach interactions with law enforcement from an informed and balanced perspective. Maintaining this perspective helps foster mutual respect between civilians and police officers. Recognizing that both parties typically seek a peaceful and lawful outcome can alleviate undue anxiety and promote positive engagements. By being informed and prepared, you can contribute to a safer environment for yourself and support the broader goal of justice and harmony within the community. This book, intended to serve as a foundational guide for the average citizen, but it is important to recognize that it does not encompass every facet of the legal and landscape surrounding police interactions. Many of the topics discussed here are vast in scope and have been the subject of extensive scholarly works and dedicated volumes. You know, that's true about a lot of the things like the First Amendment that I practice. There's so much, it's been a long time, but they still haven't nailed down what's fighting words. They haven't nailed down all the protest rights and your right to congregate and all of this stuff, what you have the right to say. It's like they never ruled on these things. The aim of this book is to inspire you to delve deeper into the legal system while providing a solid foundation upon which you can build a more comprehensive understanding. Situations involving police misconduct often require intricate legal knowledge to assess accurately and are best navigated with the assistance of qualified legal lawyers. However, possessing a fundamental grasp of your rights as a citizen can be an invaluable asset during any encounter with law enforcement. Although this guide cannot be and is not intended to be a substitute for professional legal advice, The aim is to bridge the gap between complex legal doctrines and everyday experiences. The goal is to make the law accessible and actionable for you, and ultimately helping to foster a more informed and engaged citizenry. Understanding rights not only protects your individual interest, but also contributes to the broader pursuit of justice and accountability within our society as a whole. Please note that this book is structured into two distinct sections, each designed to guide you through the complexities of police interactions. The first 5 chapters lay the groundwork by delving deep into the legal framework that governs law enforcement conduct and citizens' rights. Here, we explore statutes, case law, legal precedents, and the jurisprudence that collectively shape the landscape of police interactions in the United States. This section aims to provide you with a foundational understanding of the legal principles and court decisions that have established the boundaries and responsibilities of both law enforcement and civilians. And we're going to, as we go through these chapters, I'm going to keep critiquing it and we're going to build upon the information within or question it. I hope you guys will work with me in the comments. Have you heard anything you disagree with? Is there anything that should have been expanded upon yet? We're just in the introduction and we have about 1 page left in the introduction. Tell me what you think in the comments. Building upon this legal foundation, the subsequent 5 chapters transition from theory to practice. These chapters focus on how to prevent how the previously discussed legal concepts directly apply to everyday encounters with the police. By examining real-world scenarios and common situations, we illustrate how legal doctrines manifest in practical terms. This part of the book offers practical advice, strategies, and insights to help you navigate interactions with law enforcement confidently and effectively. The intent of dividing the book into this manner is to craft a balanced approach that combines an in-depth legal exploration with actionable guidance. This structure is designated to equip you with both the understanding of the laws and that govern police conduct and the practical know-how to apply this knowledge in real-life situations. Whether you're seeking to educate yourself on your rights or looking for advice on how to handle specific encounters with law enforcement, this book provides a resource tailored to the needs of the average citizen. Once you have finished reading this book, I highly recommend taking your legal knowledge a step further by seeking out resources that can offer an even deeper understanding of the legal nuance surrounding police interactions and our justice system. Please consider this book one small brick in the foundation of knowledge that you will ultimately build to empower yourself, protect your family as a citizen, and protect yourself and those you care about from police misconduct. Yeah, I wish I would have had this when I was out there with my son and the police were bothering us every day. This would have been an incredible asset to have at the time. I should have spent more money on books instead of whatever else I was spending my money on. Here's a great book. If you guys want to check it out, the link is in the description. We are now to chapter 1. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, listening, learning with me, and critiquing this information so that between me and the comments, viewers can get the best grasp of how to take these actions when they're in the company of police, right? When they're not safe and there's a lot of police around and they need to be really delicate about how they handle it. Yeah, you need the information in this book. So check it out. The link is in the description. Also, go check out Audit the Audit on YouTube. He's got some great police interaction videos that have always inspired me. So go get some information from him too over there. The Civilian Rights Handguide, Chapter 1, The Constitution and the Courts. When America first announced its independence from Great Britain, there was much debate about how an American government would function on its own. During the Revolutionary War and the years imminently following it, The 13 colonies of America operated as independent nations, bound by an agreement to protect one another's sovereignty. No central government truly existed, but each colony was highly dependent upon one another for trading and resources. The Articles of Confederation were eventually drafted to serve as a temporary frame of government, but it did not go into effect until 1781, 4 years after it was first drafted. A philosophical debate loomed over the budding country, and the men who were involved in structuring the government of this newly formed society were well aware that their actions would reverberate throughout generations of Americans to come. A temporary form of government no longer supported the needs of the United States once it became its own nation. And it was time for the colonies to decide whether they should remain sovereign or commit to a unified system of government. The country, along with the founding fathers, was divided on this issue. It was clear that America needed a foundational document, but the extent of that document was subject to very strong debate. Some argued that the United States needed a constitution to protect a federal government. I'm sorry. Some people thought that the United States needed a constitution to create a federal government that would promote economic growth and ensure that no state took advantage of another. Others opposed the creation of a strong central government, believing that a constitution would undermine the authority of the states, and worried that the position of president might evolve into a monarchy. Many Americans felt as though the country was being stifled by remaining divided and wanted to establish a positive relationship with foreign countries, and they carried the sentiment that America needed a constitution to be taken seriously on the world stage. Probably very true. So, on one hand, it violates possibly individual rights and takes away powers from the states individually. But on the other hand, if you want to be taken seriously on the world stage, you need to have a founding document that other countries essentially also sign off on. They're like, yeah, well, I can get down with that. America is not some new crazy on the world stage. He's like a buddy, that we have in our backyard now. So, anyways, something like that. And if I'm wrong, tell me what you think in the comments, guys. Dissenting citizens and representatives refused to allow the Constitution to be drafted in a way that would render supreme authority to the federal government and circumvent the principles of individual liberties. Much like in recent years, the country erupted into radical political discourse, and many citizens engaged in acts of protest to demonstrate their political views. Eventually, a compromise was reached, and the Bill of Rights was written in an effort to dial back the authority of the federal government and dispel the apprehensions of anti-constitutionalists. Wow, that's interesting. So I've been thinking about it lately. I don't think that the Declaration of Independence was like a ratified document, the founding document of the country. Am I wrong about that? Like, I'm not all up on this stuff either, but it seems like the Declaration of Independence is like the people's document. It protects our individual rights, and it's supposed to be recognized by you. It upholds your rights. The Constitution is like the framework of the federal government. It applies to the government and the offices therein, but not you and me. Sorry. Despite having formed a system that was reluctantly agreed upon by a majority of the state delegates, the Constitution still needed to pass a vote to be ratified. Pennsylvania became the first state to call for an assembly to ratify the Constitution, and in doing so, also garnered national attention and widespread media coverage. See, he doesn't talk about the Declaration of Independence there very much. It's like he skipped over it a little bit. I would sure like to learn a lot more about that. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. Is the Declaration of Independence recognized by the United States government? Does it cover rights? Does it cover anything that the government recognizes about our individual right? Pennsylvania became the first state to call for an assembly to ratify the Constitution, and in doing so, also garnered national attention and widespread media coverage. The state was largely populated by citizens who supported the Constitution, but a growing presence of dissenters also resided there, as it was one of the largest, wealthiest, and most influential states in the country. Pennsylvania representatives called for an assembly on September 29, 1787, but were short of the required votes by 2 members. A mob formed in the streets of Philadelphia that culminated with 2 anti constitutionalists being dragged from their homes and forced to attend the meeting while the assembly voted. It would be another 3 months before Pennsylvania would officially ratify the Constitution, and another 2 years before America would officially become one nation under God. The constitutional dissenters, better known as the Anti-Federalists, made significant changes to the structure and identity of the Constitution and played a major role in the development of modern civilian rights and police authority. Their insistence on the inclusion of the Bill of Rights and protections for individual liberty dramatically shaped the political landscape of America and instilled a sense of individuality that still ripples throughout the fabric of American culture to this day. Many Americans have a tentative relationship with the government, regardless of whether they are Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or undecided. According to a 2022 Pew Research Center poll, only 22% of Americans say they can trust the government in Washington to do what is right most of the time, with just 2% saying that they can trust the government just about always. Oh, the government messes up everything it touches, so you can't really trust them. They're incompetent and they don't do a very good job. The vast majority of Americans readily admit that they do not trust the government, and it could be argued that this skeptical relationship between the citizens and the government of America can be attributed, in some part, to the work of the Anti-Federalists. The Bill of Rights became the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. Right? See, so if the Declaration of Independence is so upheld or whatever, why is it not in like the Bill of Rights? That's my question about that. And, I reckon that the reason why he didn't go over the Bill of Rights is because it's sort of antithetical to this book. Like your individual rights remain supreme, then you're not going to bow down to another man when an officer tries to pull you over. Like you're going to have a more extreme approach that your individual rights remain supreme, that he's going to need a judge's signature if he wants to try to stop you. Or maybe even a more extreme mentality than that, right? Coming from the Declaration of Independence. The Bill of Rights became the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, and with it established guarantees of personal freedom and individual rights, set clearly defined limitations on the federal government's power in judicial and other proceedings, and explicitly declared that all powers not granted to the government by the Constitution is still reserved by the states or the people. I'm going to have to find that part right there. So all powers not granted to the government by the Constitution are still reserved by the people. So that's sort of like what I said, right? If you have consented and then they lose your trust and you don't want to consent anymore, it says in the Constitution that you have reserved your rights if they're not explicitly declared. Right? Let's read that again. The Bill of Rights became the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, and with it established guarantees of personal freedom and individual rights, sets clearly defined limitations on the federal government's power in judicial and other proceedings, and explicitly declared that all powers not granted to the government by the Constitution are reserved to the states or the people. These amendments were designed to maintain a balance between the power of the federal government and the diverse interests of the states, and would go on to form the legal nexus from which officers derive their authority and citizens invoke their rights. The United States functioned for several years with a loose system of common law enforced by informal private watchmen. It wasn't until 1838 that America established its first police force in Boston. By the 1880s, all major U.S. cities had municipal police forces in place that were not composed of volunteers and could be held accountable to the central governmental authority. In the northern states, the need for an organized police force was motivated by growing cities and an increase in petty crimes within those cities. However, the rise of law enforcement in the southern states was largely drawn from managing the slave trade that dominated the region. The first formal slave patrol was created in the Carolina colonies in 1704 and was tasked with maintaining order on large plantations. Prior to the Civil War, many of these vigilante-style organizations existed throughout the southern states and would evolve into the foundation for the South's police forces once the war had ended. These departments functioned primarily as a means of controlling freed slaves who were now laborers working in an agricultural caste system, as well as enforcing segregation laws. Well, that's a wonderful origin. The sources of the South's policing structure would become a major point of focus as the nation began to reform its viewpoint on slavery through the late 1800s. On April 9th, 1866, just after the end of the Civil War, the first federal law to define citizenship and affirm that all citizens are equally protected by the law was passed by Congress and became known as the Civil Rights Act of 1866. The act accomplished these primary objectives designed to integrate African Americans into mainstream society, to define a citizen as any person born within the United States, to outline the rights guaranteed by this citizenship, and to prohibit the deprivation of any person's citizenship rights on the basis of race, color, or prior condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. To outline the rights by this citizenship. Seems like something was, he calls them citizenship rights. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's a real thing. If you're a citizen, then it comes with certain rights. Okay. I was thinking these are human rights. I don't know why he didn't just call them that, but whatever. That's what I would call them. The roots of this act can be traced back to the Emancipation Proclamation, and it was designed to grant the federal government more power to protect the civilian rights of African Americans. The rise of racially motivated extremists over the years immediately following the passage of the 1866 Act demonstrated a need for further protections. Congress responded relatively quickly with the Enforcement Act of 1871, or better known as the Ku Klux Klan Act. This act was part of 3 acts that were passed during the Reconstruction era to protect African Americans from terrorists like the KKK and ensured their right to vote and take part in the political process was cemented into the law. Pardon me, need a little sip. The 1871 Act primarily gives the president the power to detain individuals. The 1871 Act primarily gave the president the power to detain individuals without the need for a court order in order to combat the KKK and other terrorist organizations, while also acknowledging that the government officials were often the ones violating citizens' rights. At the time, the states had no process for citizens to seek compensation for violations or constitutional protections, and Section 1 of the Enforcement Act of 1871 served as a means to seek monetary relief from state actors who violate a citizen's constitutional rights. Over the years, Section 1 of the Enforcement Act of 1871 was amended and codified in the law under Section 1983 of Title 42 of the United States Code, and now states, in part, every citizen who, under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory of the District of Columbia, suggests or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to be deprived of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws shall be liable for the party they injured in an action of law, suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress. Today, Section 1983 remains one of the most widely cited laws in cases involving police misconduct, and monetary compensation is a common form of relief for victims of illegal acts committed by members of law enforcement. Section 1983 illustrates one of the many ways that the Constitution, and more specifically the Bill of Rights, has translated into the modern landscape of both policing and civil rights. While the language of the Constitution appears relatively straightforward when taken at face value, many situations involving police-citizen encounters contain highly specific variables that are not addressed by a plain reading of the Constitution. And it is the justice system's responsibility to interpret the Constitution and apply its logic through courts. The Constitution guarantees all citizens certain inalienable rights, but it is ultimately the duty of the courts to determine when, where, and how those rights are protected. So that's where I have found, and I think many of us have found over the last few years, that these rights aren't actually real, because the Supreme Court will rule on such things. Then 50 years later, they will overturn the ruling and they'll have new justices and they'll have new opinions and they'll just take your rights away on a federal level. So if 50 years they're there and then 50 years they're not there, I mean, do they really exist? It's almost like a tree fell in the woods and everybody's seen it, but then the Supreme Court goes and says that never happened, or they disagree. You know what I mean? So, I mean, tell me what you think in the comments. Are rights if they're not concrete, if courts get to decide later after they've already decided? Tell me what you think. Interpreting the antiquated language of the Constitution and applying it to modern police encounters often requires a case-by-case examination of the relevant facts, which has resulted in a complex web of laws, rulings, opinions, and jurisprudence that is difficult for almost anyone to fully comprehend. Nonetheless, all the legal nuance surrounding police interactions relies on the foundation built by the Constitution, and possessing a basic understanding of how this document relates to modern police encounters can dramatically improve your ability to navigate a police encounter of your own. Are you guys enjoying the reading? I thank you for being here. Thank you for the heart. I love that. I appreciate you tuning in on Facebook. What platform are you guys watching on? We are on 5 different channels. I got my Facebook profile, my Facebook page. We're on 3 different YouTube channels. Let us know the name of the channel you're watching on in the comments, would you? And tell us where you're watching from. Do you find this information entertaining? And do you think you'll have the chance to apply it interacting with law enforcement one day? The Constitution and Civil Rights. The Constitution has been interpreted by various courts in many ways throughout the years. And although there are a litany of rulings and doctrines deciphering the complexities of each amendment, analyzing the actual language of these amendments can serve as a valuable tool for understanding your rights. The Constitution contains a total of 27 amendments covering a broad range of topics, but only 6 of these directly apply to everyday police interactions. The First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, and the Eighth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment. Understanding these 6 amendments will build a foundation of civilian rights knowledge that will not only allow you to navigate police interactions safely, but will also open the door to gaining a deeper understanding of the legal system as a whole. Each of these amendments plays their own vital role in ensuring that every American in this country is treated fairly by any government agency. Chiefly, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law representing an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Of the United States, 5 main protections. Do you guys know what they are? Put them in the chat. I'm going to give you a second to do that. I'll give you a hint. The first one is the freedom of religion, and I just read them all to you a second ago. So let's put them in the chat if you heard what I was saying. How's the volume levels? Are we doing good? I got about 15 more minutes, and I'm so glad that you guys tuned in with me and taking this information with me. I'm very passionate about this First Amendment and police interactions. So I think it's time that I tell you guys about the Beehive newsletter, which is all about testimonials of police interactions. If you've had a police interaction, good or bad, especially good, we want to hear about it on the newsletter. It's a worldwide newsletter where people tune in and they tell their own stories. We're building a community of people that have had interactions with law enforcement. And so you could tell your story. What happened for me was that I was practicing the First Amendment one night in Aurora, Colorado, and I was charged with the crime of obstruction. Well, I thought I was lawfully practicing the First Amendment. I was found guilty by a jury. And during the trial, I was able to take the stand. But even when I did, the judge told me there were certain things that I could not say. So the foundation of my defense was actually stripped from me. I wasn't allowed to talk about a systemic police corruption in Aurora, or how they previously treated protesters or just members of the public. I thought it was pertinent to my case, but they wouldn't let me talk about it. So that's why I created Cop Watch Chronicle. And if you guys want to send your police interaction stories, you could send them to copwatchchronicle@gmail.com, and we will post them in the newsletter. Make sure you go over to Cop Watch Chronicle on Beehive, check it out, subscribe, and then you could read up on all of the police interactions that are submitted and the testimonials, the feelings, the unresolved thoughts of people that had interactions with police. And on with the book. Today, we're enjoying the Civilian Rights Handguide by John Lang, critiquing it, going over the information, and I'm happy to enjoy this with you as we go on about the First Amendment. The First Amendment guarantees the citizens of the United States 5 main protections. The freedom of religion. This freedom prohibits the government from establishing any official religion or favoring one religion over another, and also guarantees individuals the right to practice their religion freely without government interference. The freedom of speech. This freedom protects individuals' rights to express their opinions and ideas without government censorship or restraint. It covers a wide variety of expression, including spoken words, written communication, symbolic speech, and expressive acts. The freedom of the press. This freedom ensures that the press can operate independently and report news without government control or censorship. It is essential for a functioning democracy as it allows for the dissemination of information and holds the government accountable to its citizens. The freedom to assemble. This freedom allows citizens to gather peacefully for demonstrations, protests, and other collective activities, and ensures that people can come together to express their views and advocate for change without government intervention. The freedom to petition the government. This freedom grants individuals the right to make their grievances known to the government and to request action or changes in policy. It includes the ability to gather signatures for petitions, lobby government officials, and file lawsuits for change. In the context of police interactions, the First Amendment protects your right to express dissent against the government or its agents, such as police officers or other public officials, as well as that gives you the right to record and document I mean, it documents the right to record and document any encounters you have with them. It also protects your right to protest against the police, public officials, or any other cause you are compelled to demonstrate for. If a member of law enforcement or any other government official silences your speech because they don't like what you're saying, stops you from recording a police interaction in a public place, or prevents you from filing a complaint against them, then they may have violated your First Amendment rights. I don't like the way John Lang keeps saying your rights. And that's a bad misconception out there. They're not any one of ours rights. They're called individual rights, but they're not yours. And that's how people start to look at them after a while. They just need to be called human rights. They're not your rights, they're human rights. And if you believe in human rights, then you have to uphold all people's rights. That's my take on it. Tell me what you guys think below. Hey, thank you, Matt Bellin, for being here. I appreciate you tuning in on Facebook and telling us howdy. If you like doing podcasts, or you've ever been interested in doing podcasts of your own, then you could follow the link in the description or the one that I just put in the comments to start up your own StreamYard account. And then you could broadcast to all your friends and family and get a bunch of new viewers and followers. And hey, the sky's the limit after that. All you got to do is get out there and try. Okay. So if you don't see the link, some of the channels didn't. I noticed on Voices of the Silence, the comment didn't go through because of the link. Just go over to StreamYard and open your own, and that'd be great. The Underground Auditor, brother. Thank you, Matt Bellin, for being here, telling us who you are. I'll check it out here after I get done reading in about 5 more minutes. We'll look at your channel. And also, I want to check out some of these other things. I have a few comments about the First Amendment and how it's been eroded or whatever, how it's been treated. We'll come back to that after. Next, the Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The legal intricacies of the Fourth Amendment influence almost every aspect of police interactions, and it may be the most crucial amendment regarding civilian rights. See, what does he mean, civilian rights? See, now that's different. He's saying, in this book, is John Lang trying to say that they just are civilians' rights, that they don't apply to everyone, only civilians? Civilians. Okay, I mixed that up for a second. I was thinking citizens. Okay. A civilian is somebody that's not in the government. That makes sense. I might have been misunderstanding what he said. The Fourth Amendment serves as a cornerstone of American civil liberties and provides essential protections against unreasonable searches and seizures by the government or its agents. This amendment ensures that police officers cannot illegally search you, your property, your car, or any other private space without your permission. Here's the book we're reading, guys. If you were wondering, click the link in the description and get you a copy, to get an extra copy and share that with your friends. Read it together. Have a book club. Let's learn our rights. Get your whole neighborhood watch in on it. You know? The Fourth Amendment serves as a cornerstone of American civil liberties and provides essential protections against unreasonable searches of your property. It requires that any search or seizure be reasonable, backed by a legitimate warrant or legal standard, and guarantees that citizens have a right to privacy on their own property. As Justice Byron R. White noted in this 1967 Supreme Court case of Camara v. Municipal Court, the basic purpose of this amendment, as recognized in countless decisions of this court, is to safeguard the privacy and security of individuals against arbitrary invasions by the government officials. The Fourth Amendment dictates how, why, when, where, and for how long a police officer may stop you, and understanding the rights guaranteed to you by this amendment. See, the rights aren't guaranteed to you by an amendment in a book, guys. They're human rights. And when you were born, you got them. So I do disagree with the languaging John Lang has used here around that the Fourth Amendment guarantees you these rights. The Fourth Amendment doesn't do anything but document these rights. You know what guarantees them for you? You do, and that's it. And there's nothing else that's going to. You may get compensation later. They may be guaranteed in a court of law down the road, but you know who's guaranteeing them for you today? Just you, your ass, and your life, bro. The Fourth Amendment's requirements for reasonableness, warrants, and probable cause are essential components of a fair and just legal system and reflects the Constitution's intent to safeguard liberty and prevent tyranny. We will discuss the Fourth Amendment in more detail in a later chapter, but for now, it's important to know that its protections are fundamental to maintaining the balance between public safety and personal privacy. The Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, where in actual service, time of war, or public danger, nor shall any person be the subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against thyself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due processes of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. The languaging of the Fifth Amendment established several different constitutional rights and covered a few different topics, but its main focus was aimed at limiting the government's powers regarding criminal procedure. The Fifth Amendment is comprised of 5 primary clauses that make up the body of protections it guarantees to citizens. The Grand Jury Clause. This clause is designed to provide a check against arbitrary prosecutions by the government and specifically requires that for any felony or otherwise infamous crime, a person cannot be charged unless a grand jury has reviewed the evidence and issued an indictment. A grand jury is a group of citizens sealed to review evidence presented by the prosecutor to determine whether there is a case against the accused person. This process is intended to protect individuals from unfounded or politically motivated charges. The grand jury clause is not particularly relevant to navigating police interactions. However, it is worth researching if you want to have a comprehensive understanding of the legal system as a whole. And guys, I'm going to stop right there. We're on page 12 of the Citizens' Rights Handguide by John Lang. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I had a couple of more comments of my own, but I didn't want to interrupt the book at the time. So let's talk about the First Amendment a little bit and just some things I thought maybe you guys would want to know. So you can have any religious beliefs. Your religion is your own, guys. Some people worship a floating pasta bowl, I think, or something like that. Pastafarians. Have you guys checked them out before? What do you know about that? Guys, what you know about that? So if you want to have a religion and you want to partake in certain questionable or whatever activities, what else, provocative activities, even questionable or controversial, I think is the word I'm looking for here, you could do that. And the government doesn't have the right to stop you. The people can say whatever they want, but if an officer comes up to you or something, you tell them you're freely practicing your religious rights, they should basically leave you alone as long as you're not, your rights aren't, stopping at someone else's. You can't have more rights than another person. Your rights don't come into my life. You know what I mean? Like the human rights that you choose to practice as you practice them, once they touch over here to my individuality and my individual rights, I guess we could call them right now, my human rights, one human right can't overtake another human right, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you could do whatever you want, it seems like, under the freedom of religion. And I mean, as my friend, he has his own religion. It's a legally recognized religion, and you could do the same thing, guys. It's not hard. Okay, the freedom of speech. So you're not always protected against what you can say, right? Um, the government, they chill your freedom of speech first, and then you get compensated later. That's kind of what rights are, like the government's going to come up and we can't stop them from infringing on the rights or make, the citizenry, they're ignorant of the law. Like the legislators, they can make laws that are antithetical, that aren't in line with the Constitution. And then the state law enforcers are going to enforce them. And doesn't make it constitutional just because it's law, guys. Okay. The freedom of press, the freedom to assemble. It was talking about privacy, right? Like your Fourth Amendment guarantees you the right to privacy in your person's papers and effects. I wanted to tell you, did you guys know about a Supreme Court ruling that rules that your emails over 6 months old are actually trash? And so they don't need a warrant or nothing. They can just use like an administrative subpoena. They don't got to tell you about it. And what they do is they go to Google and they get all of your Google information without a warrant, anything that's over 6 months old, all your emails like that. And yeah, that's quite a few emails and some people's email, right? So the only way to safeguard the privacy of your emails is to open them, save them to your computer, and then delete them from Google. Because the Supreme Court did rule that you only had a 6-month window there of privacy on those. Go check it out. There's some videos on it online. Let's see. And I think that was my only comments left on the book. Let's pull it up on the screen real quick. Just to recap, we were reading John Lang's The Civilian Rights Handguide. You can click the link in the description you want to go get you and your family a copy of this book. Switch it throughout your neighborhood, trade it with your friends, get some of their good reading material, and let them read about something most people don't really know about. All right, we got that. Where am I at? Okay, there I am. Matt, underground auditor. Dang, he's been pro se 3 times and never lost. Well, I would sure like to hear about things that maybe you weren't allowed to say during your trial and the police interactions that led you to be charged. Oh, I noticed you said pro se, but I'm not sure if this was criminal or civil. So I'd like to know about that. Oh, 3 trials. My bad, Harry did say 3 trials, 2 different states in 5 years. Way to go, Matt. I'm an expert on this subject matter. Federalist versus anti-federalist, formation of the Bill of Rights, incorporation into the contract called the Constitution. Awesome. Well, that's great. I see the Marine Corps symbol here. Did you serve? Let's go check them out. Underground auditor. I don't know. Do you have a YouTube channel? Oh yeah, I think I've watched this dude, man. I know who this is, man. Thanks for tuning in, man. I've watched your channel before, actually, now that I think about it. Don't you more recently, don't you have a bunker or something that you broadcast from? Am I right about that? Yeah. Okay, I know who you are, man. I've seen you before. I've definitely tuned into your channel. Let's put it up on the screen so everybody can see it. Make sure I'm sharing it. All right, we got it on the screen. Always got it. Yeah, see, it wasn't on there. Always got to come back and double check. Here we go. The underground auditor. You can get a lot of good information off of his channel here. I don't know why I hadn't been subscribed. Might have been some content that I didn't agree with. YouTube might have unsubscribed me. I'm not sure. But yeah, he'll do these broadcasts right here, like podcasts from the bunker, and talk about stuff. Here's his trial he was talking about that he won. You guys could check it out. Thank you for tuning in, mister. Appreciate you. We should do a stream or something sometime. Maybe we could talk about stuff. Right on, man. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, everyone. I had a great time reading the book with you. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. I want to do the same thing about the same time each day for about an hour or so, and we'll get through this book. We got, what, 20 something, 30 pages down today, I think. Probably about 20, I guess. And yeah, I'm having a good time learning with you guys. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about some of the things that were missed in the book. And yeah, maybe we'll go over and check out Audit the Audit sometimes. I can't play as content, but we can talk about it. You know, so if you guys go over and watch his videos, I'll watch his videos, and we'll talk about them maybe sometimes. Have you guys got a favorite one that came out recently? Tell me in the comments. Is there an audit video from the last 5 weeks or something that he never put my content on his channel? I don't know why. If there's some kind of a version there. Hold on. I didn't put it on the screen. Let's get it up there. I thought I had some worthwhile content for him, but I was watching Gavin Syme last night. Did anybody watch Gavin Syme's videos yesterday? He was concerned about James Freeman. Has anybody heard from James Freeman? He says that he's worried something might have happened to him. Oh, it's gone from YouTube. Is that true? Let's see. I didn't know. Oh yeah. Shit. It looks like his channel might be gone from YouTube, actually. I wonder what happened there. Where was he broadcasting that, guys? Do you know? I don't really know. I'm not going to click Frauded or Trolls video. I haven't seen this one with Taya either here. I'd love to check that out with you guys, but YouTube has new policies about showing other people's content. So I'm just going to be able to do critiques of audits, I think. And that's about it. Yeah, James Freeman's not on YouTube, it looks like. Hope he's okay. I was listening to Gavin Syme, and he says that it's his belief that the police are going to come and get us all, and they're going to kill us all. And so that scared the freaking shit out of me. And frankly, I was stabbed in my heart, and I don't know who did that. So, okay, and I'll give you an email, my friend. You can email me too. It's copwatchchronicle@gmail.com. Let us hear your testimonials. Tell us how it felt to go through those trials. Please share your feelings. Get it off your shoulders, man. We go through those things, but we never get to like decompress those feelings, or you know what I mean? We never get to really talk about it. So that's what Cop Watch Chronicle newsletter is good for. It's worldwide. Tons of people read it, and they get inspired to tell their own stories. Many of the people who have told their own stories are building a community on Facebook Messenger. So we're building a large community of folks that have kind of been there and been through it. And yeah, seems like a pretty cool idea. That's what I wanted to get going for everybody after my negativities with the injustice system, which is working just how it was designed to. Anyways, love you guys lots. Love you guys so much. I love you so much. I don't want to leave before I leave you with some love. And for me, I think love is puppies. So let's check out some puppies. Guys, what do you think about that? Again, I'm gonna mute this. I don't think I'm allowed to show the audio, but stay tuned. Watch some puppies, man. Unwind a little bit. Decompress. Here, we got them on stage. Oh, that's just so cute. Oh, what kind of dog is this? It looks like I don't know what kind of dog that is. It's like a blue Shar-Pei or something. God, he's got big claws. He's trying to get this. I got the bug. I think I need to get me a pup. What kind of pups do you guys got out there? If you don't got a pup right now, tell me what was the favorite breed you ever had? And if you never had a dog, tell me first one. Just prefer cats or chickens or
Puppy attack!
birds. Dogs aren't your thing. That's all right. Oh, look at the baby and the puppy. Oh. You might want to get that dog down off your video. Heard a dog perfect. Jeez. Now,
Who's your best friend?
whenever you pet a
Who's your
dog, you
best
should wash your hands. That's, in my opinion, I love dogs. I always wash my hands. Don't touch your eyes or your face afterwards. Oh, was that the wind? My gosh, I thought somebody was spraying a fire hose on my door. That's incredible. Wow, guys. Oh.
Good girl, Maya.
I'm glad we did this. That's why my channel never wants to be a stream anymore. I'm loving it. I want to interrupt the book when I'm reading it. You know, because we're gonna keep auditors. So we're gonna play cop watch videos. Now they're gonna get to watch something lovely. You know. Oh, amazing. Name that breed. That's you too, Matt. Thank you for that. Thank you for that positivity.
弟弟啊，大红不听话，我揍大红吧。
Thank you for being here. Bless you too. Thank you
干嘛？
everyone for tuning in.
我揍大红吧。
Thank you. Thank you, God.
不让揍
For
啊
all of us, for our
揍大
community,
红吧。
for being alive, having breath, having blood. So grateful for all of our heartbeats. This video is on the Pet Collector. So if you guys want to watch the rest of this video, you are going to have to go over to the Pet Collector and find the video. 30 minutes of the world's cutest puppies dog emoji. Loving hearts emoji over here on their channel. Okay, guys? That's the whole thing. I'm going to try to find some more cuter selections there. And then, oh my God. He's so lazy right now. He's like, and let's go to the dog bowl. I can wait. Oh, so cute.
For a boob.
Yeah, He's moving that whole thing, man. The whole thing. That's the mom thing. Mom. Oh, it's not a squirrel. Okay, I see. He's trying to get mom a plate from the nursing. He's the one. He wants to milk. Anyways, check that out over on the Pet Collective, guys. If you want to. You can always find puppies on any channel, though. See you later. Have a good one, everyone. Everyone loves cats. Well, I could put up some cats, man. Let me get some cute cats. Oh, tomorrow, that's what we'll do. Let's keep it fair. We got puppies today. We'll do cats tomorrow. Tomorrow, you guys can suggest another animal, and we'll go check out cute videos of that animal the next day. Okay, and we'll just keep it maybe we'll keep it on a rhythm like that. Make it a theme. Each day, we'll look at some different cute videos. Doesn't got to be animals. You could tell us in the comments, and then the next day, that'll be the one that we check out. And let me know what other books we should read next. Like, should we find if John Lang has another book? Should we get another civilian rights book? Yeah, let me know. The Anti-Federalist Papers. What do you guys want to hear? You want to hear me stutter through and critique? Anyways, I love you guys. Thanks again for being here. Peace out, y'all. Oh, yeah. I had one other question, too. You know, what other platforms do you guys like to watch videos on? Because I'm thinking about going over to Kick and Twitch and stuff, and I just don't know where people are at these days. Do you prefer your TikToks, your Instagram Live? Where do you catch your live videos? Where do you listen to your podcasts? Are you all listening on Apple Podcast? I'm gonna podcast over there. I think reading a book like this would have worked out great on a podcast. So probably tomorrow we're gonna try podcasting to one of these destinations. Not sure if StreamYard supports it or how that's gonna work, but we're gonna figure it out. Love y'all. Adios. Boop, 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 boop. Wee-oo.